Hello, we are live right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Want to welcome all our guests and our special guest today and every other person connecting with us all around the globe. Welcome, welcome. We'd like to know where you're connecting from. We'd like to know where you're connecting your name and where you're connecting from so we can welcome you. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. My name is Sandra Ukoh. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member. I'm also a sales expert, a member of the Toastmaster, and author of the book and anything audio, Bark. And I have a new book coming up soon. I'll keep you informed when it gets close. And today we have a special guest with us. And before we go into inviting our guests, I'd like to introduce what the show is all about, making a difference with Sandra Ukoh is all about. So I'm just going to play the intro video. Hi, you're welcome to Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh. I believe there is a great giant in you waiting to be discovered and unearthed. You have within you right now all that you need to become that change agent and the best version of you that God has made you to be. It is time to ignite you and discover your greater potential and to see the possibilities that exist within you to help you maximize your potential. Through this unique platform for mentoring, training, teaching, and coaching people on how they can become better versions of themselves after being through trauma and trials in their finances, business, career, relationships, and a lot more. At Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh Live Show, we leverage the power of storytelling, coaching, mentorship, and value creation to help bring about the best in people in order to create a world of difference. This show requires bringing us to assessing our value system and process of recreation of a good value system to help shape our thoughts through the guests that share their story on this platform. This process opens our eyes to new strategies, information, and value perspective that will help us define and refine our value system with more clarity on our why. We need to know our why. Why am I here? What have I been called to do or to solve? To help people live with a mindset, begin with the end in mind, and to stand out in all that we are called to do. You can join us live on Monday at 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. West African time. And if you have a great story or testimony to share, you can reach us via our contact info@deepinsightword.com. We will respond as soon as we get your details, or you send us your details via this link. Thank you, and you are welcome to today's episode. Hello, everyone. I hope you all felt welcome. Glad to have you on this show today. Welcome. And before we bring our special guest on board, I would like to read his resume, his CV, how he's making a difference in his word. Just give me a second. Let me try and pull that out. I think I have it pulled out somewhere. Yes, we have Ronnie Cunningham, who is an executive director with us today, an international life transformation coach with a Maxwell Leadership Certified team member. He's a certified DISC behavioral analyst consultant. He's also a youth facilitator and a parent and a family coach. Awesome. Ronnie is a certified emotional intelligence and positive psychology coach and instructor. He's the co-founder of the EIQ2 Emotional Intelligence Center, a company that's internationally trains and certifies individuals and organizations in emotional intelligence. He is the president and CEO of Ryan Village, United States of America, a non-for-profit he founded in memory of his son Ryan. Ryan's Village, US, develops and equips young people, adults, families, and communities with skill set needed for surviving and thriving in the 21st century. He has served and worked in academia, the government, and the faith-based community and private industry. In March of this year, Ronnie was honored and awarded the President Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to the United States during his career that spans over 53 years. Wow, that's awesome. Great to have you right now. And the next person you see is Ronnie Cunningham. Great to have you, sir. So, Arnold,
Thank you, Sandra. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be with you today also.
thank you. It was great having you on this show. I know that your hands are very busy. You're so busy. You have a tight schedule. And so getting you here, I feel so honored that you honored our invitation. So thank you. And I guess our guests too, they're honored to have you tonight. So we just go straight to finding out how you're making a difference because the title of this show is Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh. We want to ensure that everyone, every individual, every coach, as long as you have in your power to make the world a better place, we can make a difference. And that's why we are here to share our story because there are no two people who have same story. Even with identical twins from same parents, they
Mhm.
all have different experience. And so today I actually brought you so we can glean from you, learn from you. You know, working in the corporate industry for the past 53 years is a lot. You know, that's a lot. I don't think I had worked up to half the years you had put in to serving humanity. So I'm glad and honored that you could give yourself, give of your time and everything to serve your word. So I want to find out what informed you all this training. God, so much, knowledge you have gathered in the past years. Can
Well,
you share?
thank you, Sandra. What it means, I don't like to say I'm an old man, but I'm an older man. And that's all the 53 years in the workplace and had a lot of experience. And I've been around a while. And over the years, hopefully, I love what John Maxwell says about how some people think that age and wisdom comes together, but he says sometimes age just comes alone.
Yeah,
And it's my hope that I've collected a little bit of both over the years.
sure. Yeah, my in my dealing with you, I knew that you are a wealth of knowledge, and you shouldn't be left to go that way. One should bring you on one show to share from part of that wealth of knowledge that you have, so that we can learn from you. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to go the same route you went, and suffer the same failure you did. We can glean and learn from you, so we can fly. A lot of times I tell people that you don't have to do what people have done, how they feel. Go read about biographies, autography of people, what they did and how they did it, how they overcame, and how they had successes in all their endeavors. So that we don't have to do the same thing, go the same through the same circle, being in a loop, repeated, making those same repeated mistakes. But there are better ways we can learn and become better off from where we're coming from. So I know that you went to school, you went to high school, you went to college, because these days I think I met some of my kids' friends, and the first thing I did, I was like, I have a book I want to give to you, and the first thing they told me was like, nobody reads. So when the boy told me nobody reads, I said, okay, how are you passing your exams? Why are you in school if nobody reads? And the first thing I told him, I said, okay, I'll give you an e-copy if you don't want a hard copy. That will be easy for you to read on your phone. And then the first thing he said, he was just smiling and he walked away. He didn't want any of the copy of the book. So I was shocked and I'm like, do you mean that this generation, nobody reads? Nobody engages their mind to, glean from books or read anything from book? Do they just watch TV, social media, and they're on the phones 24/7? No, but I think some people do read, and I felt that bringing people to tell their story, what made them went to school, what exposure they had, and how they stood out would help this younger generation to know that it's critical as much as it is critical to go to school. You glean, you learn, you network from other people, but you can become better. It doesn't mean that you have to go to college. You can at least the very basics of, middle school, high school, critical. All other ones you can learn, you know, it might not be a corporate, it might not be a school. It might be learning how to do some work, learning how to, how to be maybe a plumber and not a full while of a college, but some kind of, schooling. So I want to find out what happened, what informed you. Was it your parents? What motivated you to go to school to say, okay, you want to go to college, you want to go to high school, you want to also gather more knowledge, exposing yourself because I know it's not easy reading, but I want to glean from you and know what informed you.
Okay, Sandra, thank you for that. You said a lot there, and so I want to try to respond to a few things that you said that
I'm
really hit
sorry.
First of all, we can learn from everybody. I learn from my grandchildren, and learning should be a two-way thing. I'm a lifelong learner, but some things that got me going to learning, I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out of school in the 11th grade.
Wow.
And I went to work doing construction work. I did that for about 9 months with my father and uncles. And I said, I'm not doing this the rest of my life. So I went back and got my GED, which is your high school equivalent, and then went on to get my associate in arts degree at Pasadena City College. Well, that led me into the insurance field for a while. I worked in construction, and ultimately I ended up working with the city of Los Angeles, where I spent 26 years and retired as a principal inspector and emergency management coordinator. Now, I tell you all that because I had a very successful career with just a high school diploma and a community college degree. But when I was 58, after being out of school for 38 years, my uncle and mentor told me I needed to go back and finish my education. I like, Uncle, I'm 58. I'm going to be retiring soon. He says, you need to go back and get your degrees. Well, I did go back after 35 years, and I got my bachelor's degree and master's degree. And I share that not to impress anybody, but to impress upon you the importance of learning. Lifelong learning is the key. You mentioned something about reading. A lot of people don't read. I spent the majority of my life not reading. So only over the last 23 years have I become an avid reader. And I truly believe that the person that doesn't read is no better off than the person that can't read. And that's a challenging statement. There's so much that's been put in the books that to not read, you're denying yourself an awful lot of wisdom. You're denying yourself a chance to really come up with some ideas that could help you change the world. So that's one of the things. But I'm still a lifelong learner. I'm learning every day. I spend time every single day in personal development. I started this with a program in 2000 when I needed to change my life around, and when I got actually exposed to John Maxwell. I was prompted by a question that he always asked people, is what's your plan for personal development? Well, I didn't have one. I was just kind of shooting by the hips. So I started off with 15 minutes a day. And even in my retirement and my older age, I'm not going to say old age, but older age, I still spend about a couple of hours every day in personal development. Why? Because I believe that that's the need. And if I'm going to try to recommend and serve the youth or other adults, I've got to continually renew my mind. I can't just rely on what I've learned over the years. The world is changing at such a rapid pace that we have to keep learning. So one of the things that I want to do is not only encourage people to become a lifelong learner, but also help them develop the disciplines and the habits where they will know how to learn. One of the things that I believe as an educator also is that it's not as important as that we tell the youth, adults, or anybody what to learn. What's important is that they learn how to learn.
Wow, that's important. Learning to. I'd like you to go over that statement again. That's a great word.
It's not as important. Too much of academia and parents, we want to tell people what to learn. What's more important is that they learn how to learn. Once a person knows how to learn and how to develop the hunger and thirst for knowledge, they can learn anything they want to go. I mentioned anything they want to learn. Excuse me. I mentioned that I spend a minimum of 2 hours a day in personal development. That's every day, 365 days a year.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one of my
so.
priorities. My prayer and devotion is included in that time, but I want to grow in 5 different areas. I want to grow spiritually. I want to grow relationally, emotionally, educationally, and I want to grow physically in good health. That's
Yeah.
important. Growth is what I'm all about these days. And I haven't always been there, but I'm there now. And Lord willing, I'll be there for the rest of my days.
You want to grow spiritually, emotionally, physically, relationship,
Relationally,
relationship.
also, yes.
One other word,
I also want to
educationally.
grow financially because I want to be able to leave a legacy to my children and grandchildren also. And I want to teach them to be able to play forward the skills that I did. I didn't start becoming a lifelong learner until I was 45.
Yeah.
Uh,
I Yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
go ahead. You were saying
No,
something?
so what happens is the first 45 years of my life, I was kind of coasting through things as opposed to being intentional about my personal growth.
Wow, that's awesome. Rather than being intentional. Awesome. I like the statement where you said success is actually not dependent on the number of years in school. Yes, it's not about the number of years you've been in school or in the four walls of a college that makes you successful. Sometimes you have people who've never been to school, who dropped out from school, becoming great successes in the endeavors. But the most important aspect is, having yourself ready to learn, learning from other aspect, reading and just getting. And you also said you are a lifelong learner. It is crucial. Learning never ends. There is no limitation to learning. You keep learning until the day you're no longer on this planet. You can't stop learning. The day you stop learning, the day your cells, your brain cells start dying.
And Sandra, one of the reasons I want to back up on that about the lifelong learning, the reason I want to be a lifelong learner, because I want to be a lifelong teacher. And too many people try to keep being a teacher without learning. You've got to continually learn new things every day. And like I said, I learn from my grandchildren, and I listen to them. They have things to teach me, because I believe every value has something. Every generation has something of value that we all need.
Yes.
No one generation has all the answers, and
no one.
None.
No one.
Yes.
That's awesome. And the person that does not read is not different from those who cannot read.
He's no better off than a person that can't read.
Yeah,
that's correct.
That's a great one. That's a great one. So even if I can read and I don't read, I'm not different from someone who never went to school, who never can read. So it's important that you read. You learn to read. Get into the circle of reading. Form the habit of reading. It's a great habit to form. You deny yourself the opportunity to be a better person when you don't learn, because most informations are hidden in the book. So if you don't read, then you're actually denying yourself such opportunities to improve yourself and to become a better person. Mm-hmm. So that's a great one. I'm sorry I had to go back over everything you just said. So if there's anyone joining us, they can at least, get what you said. What is your plan for personal development? As you rightly said, you said, your mentors are always asking that. And that's one of the reasons you have to have a plan of your personal growth. What is it that you want to become in 5, 10, 20 years? So what is the roadmap in getting developed personally? Aside from going to a forward of a school or getting a coach or a mentor to teach you, what are you planning? What are you doing about you learning? You getting something inside yourself. It's key that you have a plan. If you don't plan to be successful, if you don't plan to read, you're either planning to fail. Mm-hmm. So spend hours for a lifetime learning. Like I earlier said, you must draw out a plan. And one of the reasons is a great time I'm having to discuss this with you. It's a time of the year. The year is wrapping up very fast. We got 19 days more before the year runs out, and we're on to 2023. So you might want to go back and start drawing out your plans. What are the things you want to do for 2023? How do you want your year to be? He said, as you make your bed, so shall you lie on it. So what's the plan you have for 2023? So draw out your plan for personal development and other development. Spend the time you want to, share the time you want to give to learning and to doing other things. I'm not saying you'll spend all day reading, but you can spare 1 or 2 hours daily to get yourself developed. You cannot also depend on past learning. That was a great one for me, because we are in a changing time. New technology, things are moving. If you don't move with the technology, you'll be left behind. So you don't want to be left behind, because things are changing. We're in a fast-moving world. Everything is changing. So you have got to be complacent. You have to be at par with the changing world. It's important to learn how to learn, develop a hunger for learning. That's a great one. Meaning, if you do not have an hunger for learning, there's no way you can put anything into yourself. So that means you must develop that hunger, insatiable hunger that you want to learn. Learning can be by watching videos, by reading books, by watching series of films that you could get, exposed and educated on. There are diverse ways you can get resources into you, either through reading, through audiobook, through short stories or videos that can get those knowledge inside of you. So you have to find what suits you and what is great for you. You spoke about, growing in more than five different ways: spiritually, physically, educationally, financially, emotionally, and relationship, and that was a great one for me. In life, we're not meant to coast. We're meant to be intentional. That was a great one, sir. Life is intentional. And like likely said, I said success is not accidental. Success is intentional. So you must plan the way you want to be successful, what you want to do to get on that path of success. And success is not a one-day business. It's a lifelong planning. So you must take our time, make our time to plan. Great one, sir. That's awesome. That was a great one in the short time you spoke. Really,
Well,
really.
one of the things that it's important that as you go through kind of a recap, a lot of the things I said, you can tell I'm very passionate about this and I have a lot to say. But one of the things is we have to have a growth mindset. Carol Dweck wrote a book, or I think in 2004, called Growth Mindset. And I love it because it's simplicity, where she talks about people either have the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. And it's
Yeah.
important to have a growth mindset. And in order to have a plan where you're going to grow daily, one of the other things we talked about being intentional, but growth has to be a priority. And the world, our families, our individuals, families, communities, nations in the world need people with a growth mindset if we're going to
Sure.
navigate through some of the challenges that are facing us. We can't do it with a fixed mindset where we want to maintain the status quo. We want to
Sure.
continually be growing.
Yeah, that's awesome, sir. Great to have that and to have all together. Growth is critical. Growth is meant to be priority in all of your doing, in the accumulation of gathering wealth and everything. Growth is constant. It must be continuous, a continuum, never ending. As long as you have breath in your nostrils, you must have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. That's a great one, sir. I want to find out, whilst gathering all this knowledge and going through all this learning, you must have experienced that moments where you had traumas, where you've been through trials. How did you weather it? How did you go through it? How did you come out stronger?
Well, my faith is the thing that's gotten me through it. When you mentioned some of the challenges that I've gone through, uh, it was in 2000 when I needed to get my life together. I was at a low point in my life. I had really relied too much on me and I needed to make some changes. So some of the changes that I did caused me to learn how to cope. It caused me to, I had failure in a marriage. I had a loss of fortune. Over the years since then, I've lost my parents. I've lost many other loved ones. I lost a 23-year-old son to an auto accident. I'm a cancer survivor. I've had a lot of adversity, and these are things that it's my faith that helped me get through those. But the one thing that I wish I had that I didn't get until 5 years ago was emotional intelligence. I had never been exposed to emotional intelligence. And as an educator, as an emergency management coordinator, as a parent, a grandparent, that's something that I felt that is the most important thing that academia is failing to equip students with. I'm a baby boomer. When I was coming up, my generation was taught that your IQ is what made determine your level of success. The higher your IQ, the better your chances of success. That's not true. That's
Mm.
not true at all.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's the emotional intelligence that makes it. All of us probably know people that are brilliant, but they may have the personality of this ink pen. They can't relate to anybody. It's the emotional, the soft skills that are going to determine how far we go. I didn't learn this until, like I said, I was 63. 5 years ago is when I became a student of emotional intelligence. And it's one of the things that in my leadership toolkit, it was a thing that I said, I have to have this because emotional intelligence it impacts everything we think, say, or do. But most people only have a superficial understanding of what emotional intelligence is.
Sure. Wow, that's awesome. Faith helping you through all of the failures and challenges. And that's it. I actually said that earlier on in my past video that there are three things that makes a man stand out: the resources that you allow inside of you,
Mhm.
the people you hang around, and the environments you grow. If you have the wrong set of people, I can always tell you how you would end up your life,
Mhm.
because I know that you are with the wrong set, you can move on beyond that level. And the resources that you allow into you, what are the things that feed your heart? It is said, garbage in, garbage out. Out of
Mhm.
the abundance of the hearts, the mouth speaketh. You know,
Right.
a man who is a studious person by the things he say. I get to know people the first time I meet them, the first word that comes out from their mouth tells me what kind of person the person is. If the person is a man of faith or just a freelancer, someone who just, live life carelessly. But that's a great one to know that whatever you allow inside of you make you up. So you have to watch what you allow inside of you. What are the resources? What are the books you read? What are the shows you watch on TV, on phone, social media? What is it that you expose yourself, your art to? So you got to be careful. Your environment critically and the people you hang around. If you hang around the wrong set of people who are negative minded, negative environments, you can't be above that level. He says, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. So tell me the environment you are growing right now. If the environment is so polluted, you can't grow beyond that. And so a lot of times beyond us, you need to find out what is the right environment for me to grow. And so if you are in a wrong environment, you can plug into the right system, even if you can't change your environment. Find out what church or what group to belong. Because it is said that when you share your problem, it is 50% solved. He rightly said, he said he's been through a lot of challenges. You said that you lost, so sorry, on the loss of your son. And
Mhm.
even surviving cancer is a lot of trauma he has been through. But you know what kept him going, that made a difference, was his faith. So that means that if Ronnie had no one to talk to, he had his faith. He had somebody he was looking up to. He knew that whatever phases in life he was going through was only but for a moment. And he was ready to go through the tough times. Because a lot of times when we go through tough situations, there's always something for us to learn. It's just like going to school. Your teacher will not promote you if you don't pass a particular level exam. What gets you certified is you passed an exam and you are promoted to the next level. So, and that's what life is all about. When we go through diverse challenges in life, it's an examination, it's a temptation, it's a test of who you are, of what you're built of. If you're built of a strong fiber, you can go through life even in tough situations. But if you are built with something else, the moment you're tried with fire, which is maybe challenges, you come crumbling. Like you rightly said, belonging, having a faith-based, being a faith-based personality, having someone you can run to, and during those times can put you through. Because I understand in this part of the world, when things don't go right with people, they try to want to hand it. Like I rightly shared with you the other time, the lady who killed herself. And I was like, why would any young lady who is affluent, who is well connected, well read, Miss USA, jump from a 29-story building? What could make her do that?
Let me elaborate on that, because this is where emotional intelligence comes in and where I think it's important. We're not taught how to manage our feelings and emotions, but we all have them. We're not taught how to build relationships, but we all have them. We have relationships with our spouse, our significant other, our children, our parents, our grandparents, grandkids in my case, and many other associates. But we're
Sure.
not taught how to manage those relationships. We're not taught how to manage our feelings and emotions. So when to that girl, I've lost a couple of very dear relatives that had everything in the world that you could possibly want: celebrity
Wow.
status, money, wealth. I mean, everything, fame and fortune, everything. They
Wow.
took their life, and they took their lives, just like the girl. What happened was, even though they had everything, something was missing. And one of the things about emotional intelligence, I believe over time, it'll reduce suicide rates. I believe it'll reduce divorce rates, domestic violence, child abuse, all these shootings that we're seeing happening in churches, schools, movie theaters. I believe, I don't have the empirical data to back it up yet, but give me time and I will have it, because
Sure.
this is where I'm researching. I
Yeah.
believe that we're seeing all of this manifest because people don't know how to manage their feelings and emotions. So if you don't know how to manage your feelings and emotions, you're vulnerable to some form of unhealthy behavior. It could be sex, it could be alcohol, drugs, it could be shooting up schools, whatever makes you feel good. It could be video games. These are the things that are overcoming our society. So let me just take a moment to share that this is something I think everybody, no matter whether you're 2 or 80, need to be learning to work on improving your emotional intelligence skills. Emotional intelligence is a set of emotional, social, and relational skills that guides the way we perceive, understand, and express ourselves, connect with others, manage interpersonal exchange, cope with challenges, and apply emotional information in a meaningful and effective way. That's the definition that my partner, Robert Juris, uses, and that's the one that I'm really hanging on. That's a mouthful. But in short, it impacts everything we think, say, and do. So that's an area that academia, the faith-based community, parents need to be teaching younger kids, because right now the millennials, the millennials, the Gen X's and Gen Z's, all of them, especially the younger generations, those born since 2001, their mental health challenges are greater than they've ever been. Now we have the technology that you mentioned earlier. We have the best of everything. Information is abundant. In fact, it's too abundant.
Too much.
There's too much out there. The
Yeah.
youth don't. It's been said that the youth don't need information from us older generations, but what they need is they need us to help them filter that information, because it's just too much. And again, the suicide rates are increasing at every age. But I truly believe that emotional intelligence is something that will help turn it around when we start understanding what it is. I had problem with drugs and alcohol for a good portion of my life. Why? Because I didn't know how to manage my feelings and emotions. So I self-medicated for decades. And again, I wish what I'm sharing with you now, as you mentioned, this is something I wish I would have had 30 years ago. But I guess I wasn't ready for it. 30 years ago, I wasn't into being a lifelong learner, but I am now. And over the past 5 years, this is something that I've dove in the most into. I'm taking a deeper dive in emotional intelligence than I have in any other subject outside of my spiritual growth right now. It's that important.
Critical, very critical. You just said it all. We learn how to read. We learn to do how to make money. I don't think they teach even how to make money, how to save money, and how to invest, like you rightly said. But we never taught how to manage our feelings. We never taught how to. We're taught in the church how to grow spiritually, but we never taught how to manage our feelings, how to manage our relationship, and that's why we have a lot of high level or diverse rate. We have high level of people taking their life, and there's a lot going on, a lot of vices, because they're not taught that. And having the emotional intelligence test would be a great one. And I think with someone like you, I don't know how you'll be able to reach the world, and I'm sure a lot of people are coming up that are emotional intelligence specialists and consultants. But I think I know in the next few years there would be much more emotional intelligence analysts and consultants. Like you rightly said, there's too many information out there for these kids. Really, you said it all, because I don't think in our time we were so exposed with so much knowledge, but now they have too much. So as parents and as elders, as teachers and principals, whatever we're called, we are meant to help them filter the information that gets into them. Too much of information, too much. I see a 2-year-old already having a tub. Some even at 6 months, they already have a tub. And you don't know what they're exposed to, even at that very tender age. It's so emotional to me, but you can change it all. As parents, even when we have guidelines and family links, we try to want to watch or check what they're watching. We can't all be 100% accurate. These kids are smarter than us. Most
Sandra,
of them.
you mentioned a couple things that I want to kind of expound on, and one of them about the church and the faith-based community. I may get in a little trouble for this, but this is a belief that I have, and I've been affiliated with the faith-based community for the last 23 years, and my master's is in this area. But one of the things that I don't believe that we, the church, have done a good enough job is teaching people how to grow spiritually. We talk about it, but as far as Romans 12:2 tells us, we're not to be conformed to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. How do you renew your mind? Well, you renew your mind by personal development every day. I mentioned the 5 areas that I want to grow on. This is whole person development. I can't just decide to grow financially or in leadership or relationally. I need to grow across the board. I need to become the best person that I can be. And
Yeah.
that's whole person development. So that's one of the things that we've got to do is show people how to do it, how to grow spiritually. We can't give what we don't have. And
Sure.
too many people in my group or my age group, they get the corner office or they get the, they have the corner office, they have the success, they have the degrees. They think they've reached it. But what's happening is they've only reached it temporarily. You've got to keep growing. If you look at Romans 12:2, it doesn't tell you to go till you get certain amount of degrees and then stop.
No,
You have to
no.
be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is an
Daily.
ongoing daily, every day,
Daily.
365 days. Somebody
Yeah.
once told me that your mind is doing one of two things. It's either learning or forgetting. And unless you're putting more into it than is going out of it, well, you could figure that out.
Sure.
You'll be in trouble one day.
True. You just said it. Growth should be 360-degree. It should be an all-round growth, not just growth in one area. Some people are growing financially, they're accumulating everything they need to. But one thing is, if you're leaving this world, you're not going with anything.
That's
Somebody
right.
else is going to, spend it for you, use it up for you. So you are meant to grow spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, relationship based, and you just need to be a balanced person, growing all around. That's awesome. Great.
Now, Sandra, one of the things that, and I'm going to keep going back to emotional intelligence. You said one other thing. How do we change the world? How do we reach them? Well, we reach them one person at a time. I
Yes.
can't reach everybody, but I
Sure.
can reach somebody every day, and we have to be intentional in that. But some of the gains that come from emotional intelligence, most of us could stand to improve our communication skills. This is an area that I really have to work on because I'm very passionate and I'm long-winded. You probably could already tell, and I'll pack a lot in a short amount of time because I have a lot on my heart, a lot to say. But the key thing is learn how to be an empathetic listener. Empathy is one of the greatest skills that's needed in the world. And I'll take the politics, for example. We have people, different parties, and I'm not getting political message, but we operate on the extremes. Nothing is going to get accomplished when you're dealing with the extremes. You have to come to the middle. One of my mentors once shared with me that we've become a nation where we're more focused on our rights than our responsibilities. You and I are we're aligned in many ways with the John Maxwell team, with our faith. But if we stand on our rights, at some point we're going to clash. But if we
Sure.
focused on our responsibilities overlap and form bonds.
Yeah.
Bonds allow you to build bridges. Rights will cause division, building walls, and we're seeing too much of that. So being able to improve in communication skills, being able to connect and collaborate with other people. Most people want better results in life. Emotional intelligence will help you in your thought process to where you're able to make better decisions in your life. A lot of the failures that I had in my life, and I've had my share of them. I've had some successes to which I get recognized, but when I talk to people, I focus more on my failures because that's where the greatest growth is.
Sure. That's
That's
it.
where my transformational moments came through.
Yeah.
When I did some stupid stuff, and people think that they have a corner on stupid. No, well, that's a whole nother story. We'll have to go. We'll maybe do another interview where we'll talk about some of the things. But it's learning from your mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. Nobody has the answers.
Yeah, and nobody's an island of knowledge.
That's
Nobody
right.
is. So we have to learn and keep learning, a lifetime learning, never stopping. Like, putting yourself to use, exposing yourself to more knowledge because you never know. We are in a changing world, fast moving. And for us to be relevant in this age, we've got to be a lifelong learner, a lifelong
That's
teacher.
right.
You
And,
understand?
and you mentioned the young lady that on it. One of the things, and I'm assuming that with my two cousins that I shared with you that took their lives and just really blew me away, we've got to learn how to manage stress. And that's one of the key things that emotional intelligence does is teach you how to manage stress. It teaches you how to manage conflict. We can't, it teaches you how to develop relationships. And one of the things is that if we're going to be a society that comes together, there's a term that I've been using recently called generational collaborations. My generation doesn't have all the answers. Yours doesn't either. The ones
Sure.
above you and the ones we
No one
need.
does.
There's genius in all of us. So we need all of the collaborative genius to be able to solve some of these problems. We're experiencing COVID has caused us to change everything, and the customer service and different things have gone down. I mean, it's terrible right now. Customer service. Some employers can't even find people to work for them because everybody has a poor work ethic. Everybody needs to work toward being the best them possible. And emotional intelligence, the lifelong learning component, the reading, many of the things we talked about are all small pieces that'll allow that to happen. But if we don't look at the whole picture and start working to develop the whole person and the balance, develop balance where we're learning in all areas, we're going to miss the mark. You're going to overcompensate. Like I said, if you what good is it? And this is out of the word. If you have the whole world but lose your soul or anything, and again, the stress, the people that are taking their lives, it's become they don't know how to navigate the challenges. One of the other thing that emotional intelligence is, we live in times where we need to develop a level of mental toughness and resiliency that's never existed before. Sure. All of those hurts and challenges that I came were painful, very painful. They still hurt me to this day, but they made me a better person. I'm who I am because of them. Now, we don't get to pick our adversity or our challenges or the calamity that comes into our life. We got to deal with it. If I had my choice, I would change places with my son Ryan like that. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, but I don't get to make that choice. So what we have to do is learn how, it's the old saying, you have to learn how to play with the cards you're dealt. Yeah. And when you play with those cards you're dealt, you've got to learn at each point. At every one of my calamity or adversity points, I really had to ask myself, am I going to allow this to make me bitter or better? I chose to become better, and that's my choice. Now, just because I made that choice doesn't mean it was painful. It was painless pursuing that choice. It was very painful, but I don't want to get worse. I want to get better every day. I'm grateful for every day that I'm able to see, because I know a lot of people. I got notice today of a young man that's a pastor in California that I mentored and poured into. He came into my life right after I lost Ryan. He was killed last night or early this morning walking his dog. He was struck by a car and killed. Young man's 38 years old. So we don't know what we have left. So all we've got to do, he was an incredible person. So, I mean, he touched a lot of lives, and he was a young pastor. He went to seminary. We were both in seminary around the same time, different schools, but he was somebody that we poured into each other. And I'm very emotional right now because of hearing this news. I only heard about it a couple hours ago, but again, we don't know what time we have. So in order for us to be able to pour into those loved ones, we have to be as emotionally intelligent as we can. We have to be the best us that we're capable of being.
Sure. Awesome. We don't have control of time. Time is God and time is life. And so as much as possible, we keep learning. Let's keep pouring. It is said the Red Sea or the Dead Sea, because it never flows into others. We need to flow and, pour ourselves into the next generation. We need to give of what we know, because nobody knows. Like he rightly said, the 38-year-old pastor who never knew death was coming at his doorstep. If somebody told him the previous night or 2 days before today that he was going to die, I'm sure he's going to say, no, never. I'm sure he's going to start rejecting the spirit of death. But he never saw it coming. Nobody knows when death comes knocking. It's like a thief in the night that comes, and no more. You can't fight it. You can't dodge from it. There's nothing you can do. You have no control over it.
That's right.
I love what you said about sacrifice. The two things you learn in failure and in pain and in challenges. It either makes you better to do things better, or it mars you. So you either make a choice. And God has given us the power to make choices. So we have the right, and it's in our control. So it's left for you to make a choice today. You either allow your failures or the mishap that you've gone through to make you grow or to bring you down. So you've got to make that choice. No one can do that for you. And you find that in failure, you learn more. It takes you back to your drawing board rather than success. Success, if not well managed, will get into your head and you become prideful. So by bringing success and failure together, like John Maxwell will always say, he said, those two, failure will keep you humble. Failure and success together will keep you resilient, meaning
Mhm.
that as life comes throwing whatever life is throwing to you, you are dodging it and you are getting better and stronger. So
Right.
that's what it is. And collaboration, you rightly said it. A lot of us wants to run on our own. We want to become kings and giants. But it is said that if you want to go far in life, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far and achieving more and impacting your generation, you go in collaborations. You come together to synergize. You're able to, what I don't know, Ronnie knows better than me. Coming together to form an alliance or a collaboration with Ronnie, we'll be able to cover so many miles. The people I know and Ronnie doesn't know, would always leverage on my relationship. I can also leverage on Ronnie's relationship, the people he knows in his word. And so that's why collaboration, coming together, is critical in this generation. We
Yeah.
can't do it all alone. We need ourselves. We are love beings. We need to come together to help ourselves. We are not an island of knowledge. And like I rightly said, nobody knows when death comes knocking. And it is said that the graveyard is the place you have the richest, knowledge and IQs and everything. Some people died with all they heard and never passed on to other generations. And so we don't want to be people like that. So
Right.
very early in life, we discover that, oh, I've got so much in me. We want to pour out to everyone around us. Let's be a positive impact. Let's be a people of impact. And it is said, if you value yourself, you will value the next person beside you. If you see value in yourself, you will have value in yourself.
So
It's
true.
only when you don't see value, you don't think your life is valuable. But if you see value in yourself, you will value yourself, you will add more value to yourself, and you will want to impact your neighborhood, your community where you live by impacting them positively.
Hmm.
Ah, that's a great one, a great time talking. Oh, very great. I want to say thank you for this time. I have also learned. I have learned so much. I have my book full. I was trying to get some of the things you're saying so I can go back to it and, recap for our audience. But I want to find out when you had great moments, how did you celebrate? Because in all of the challenging times, we learn more in failures, but so much celebrating your successes also go a long way to helping you and keeping you in line. So, what have you managed when you had great moments, when you achieved success? What did you do to celebrate? How did you celebrate too?
Well, I celebrate by gratitude because, like I said, I had a very rough life, and I've done a lot of stupid things. I got involved in some things that I shouldn't have been involved in. So I'm where I am now mainly because of my humility, and I don't celebrate like I used to celebrate. I mean, because like you mentioned, you'll get puffed up ahead. I'm very humble. I'm realizing that everything that I'm able to do, everything that I've been able to achieve, is only by God's grace.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that I grew up with that are either in the cemetery, they're in prison, or they're strung out on drugs. But it's only by His grace that I'm able to hear with the brain
Sure.
cells that I have left. I'm able to use some of them, and I'm grateful for that. So I
Sure.
don't I don't celebrate all my success goals and everything that I do now goes toward. And again, this isn't a spiritual message, but this is me. This is what's helped me. And again, I didn't come to this point until over the last 23 years. But I'm out the 18th of next month will be 23 years of sobriety for me. So all of that coincides with my personal development plan. And a lot of the success that I had, and there's been some failures weaved in there, has been a result of me turning the corner in 2000.
Awesome. Well, it's good to, celebrate once in a while. It's good. We celebrate as motivation keeps you going. Like John Maxwell will always tell you that you need to celebrate sometimes. More so because you're working with a team. You want your team to understand that we are on the path to success. We're doing something great to keep them working and giving their best. Because sometimes when you do not celebrate, people are like, oh my God, we're just working around the clock. We don't know whether we're making an impact or that we're in our path, to success. So I want to encourage you, might not celebrate elaborately, so loud, but sometimes just to keep the team, the people you work with, to appreciate what they're doing, appreciate them, reward successes, reward their efforts so that they can, feel and believe that they're being positive or adding value to your company or your organization.
Well,
So
Sandra, I want to clarify because I do celebrate other people. I don't celebrate myself anymore. I don't need to. At this point in my life, I've accomplished things that I never imagined being able to do. So there's not a need for me to clap on it. I'm, like I said, I'm humble, and I never want to get full of myself like I used to be.
Yeah.
So I have to keep myself in check. I'll celebrate if somebody, you and I collaborate on something, and we do a good job. We're going to celebrate it. But as far as me, I'm deferring everything that I do because I realize that I'm if it wasn't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be able to have done it. I do.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, our viewers. Thank you. This is taking a bit of a time, but I appreciate all that we are learning from you. A lot to learn. I also want to, before we wrap up the today's episode, I want to ask you: do you have anything you want to share? Something unique to you, a story that just resonates with you only?
Let me share with you, because in 2017, at the age of 63, I was asked by the state of Colorado to teach some emotional intelligence courses. And I had never read, I bought Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence, back in 95, but it was one of those that I never picked it up and read it. So I didn't know I didn't know anything about it. So, but they told me that they already had the curriculum and they just needed somebody to teach it. Well, being a certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, having taught at Pasadena City College for 15 years, emergency management, I had a lot of training experience. So I told them, of course, I could teach it. Well, I taught 8 full-day workshops for them. And those 8 workshops literally changed my life in 3 areas. In fact, what I did, I was teaching for high-level officials for the state of Colorado. In my first class, the deputy attorney general of the state was in my class. But what that class did is it taught me. This was something I had never been exposed to in all my 50-something years of my career. I had never been exposed to any of it. But it helped me understand why I self-medicated. It helped me understand why my parents divorced. Both of them divorced when I was 5, and then they subsequently remarried, but they failed also. It kind of was I could understand why. I could understand, and helped me have a better understanding of why my cousins took their life. It helped me with all of these things. And one of the things that it did, the 3 things that came out of it, first of all, it answered the questions for me. Second of all, it helped me see that this is something that academia failed to provide people with. And lastly, it made me decide that I was going to be a lifelong student in emotional intelligence. And that was one area that I had to get certified so I could be a lifelong teacher in it, because I truly believe that it's the most important and the most neglected area that we need, especially right now today.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a great one. Thank you so much for all you've just shared with us. I had a lot of notes that I took from you, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers would have taken something. And if you're just joining us for the first time, please kindly like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can often get more updates. And you can go back to watch this interview. And before we call it a day, I would just want to take a break for just 1 or 2 minutes to see if there's any question. But whilst getting the question, let me just play the trailer of my book. To see if there are questions, so that, and I think there's no question, but I just got a side comment that says great discussion. Absolutely true. Emotional intelligence is key for all of us. Everyone needs it. And I have people saying, oh, thank you, great session. Oh, I gleaned a lot. I got enough of stuffs. Please go back to the video. If you're joining, go back to the video. Those are the comments I got. I just want to check to see if there are any questions. But thank you so much, sir. There are no questions.
Thank you for having me.
They're all compliments and appreciation for what you just shared. Thank you, sir. And I want to thank our audience too for joining us, and thank you for staying true. Until we meet in our next episode, do have a blessed evening, and thank you for joining us.